Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the noise and bring you the insights that matter. Today, we're really digging into a recent viral video. You might have seen it.
Oh yeah, it was everywhere.
It shows white farmers talking pretty openly about expecting black workers to fill labor gaps left by immigrants. And, well, as you can imagine, it just blew up online. Lots of reactions, lots of debate.
It really did. And that video,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of a snapshot, isn't it? It reflects these really complex dynamics. You've got labor shortages, race relations, immigration policies, all tangled up, especially in agriculture. Those conversations, they weren't, polished speeches. They were candid.
Right.
And that candor reveals these broader societal issues that people have strong feelings about. The fact that it went viral just underscores how powerful digital media is in, well, shaping public discussion on sensitive stuff like this.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit then. To really get what's going on, we probably need a little historical context on farm labor in the U.S. Agriculture, particularly in places like Nebraska, where this video seemed rooted, it's always relied on a diverse workforce. And immigrant labor, specifically, has played a huge role. Think planting, harvesting, processing, all that really hands-on work.
Absolutely huge.
Yeah.
In some key farming states, estimates suggest immigrant workers make up, over half the workforce sometimes?
Wow, over half.
Yeah. And this isn't like a recent thing. It's a long-standing dependency. Decades old. It's fundamentally shaped how farming operates in America.
So what's changed recently then?
Well, what's fascinating, or maybe concerning, depending on how you look at it, is how recent shifts in immigration policy have really shaken things up. Tighter border controls, stricter regulations on undocumented workers.
Yeah.
It's significantly impacted the availability of that labor pool.
Right, so the usual sources are drying up, basically.
Exactly. And these legislative changes, they've created these really complex situations. Farm operators who've relied on that workforce for years are now scrambling. They're having to completely rethink their strategies for finding and keeping workers, and it's getting harder and harder to recruit people suitable for the jobs.
That's a really crucial point. And it's not just policy driving this, is it? The whole labor market seems to be shifting.
Yeah, that's true too.
We're hearing about rising wages, maybe slightly better working conditions becoming more common in some areas, which must force employers to reconsider where they're getting their labor from. It hits the bottom line, right?
Absolutely. It impacts the economic viability of their operations.
Yeah.
And it subtly starts to change, the demographics of who's actually doing the work.
So if we zoom out, like you said, this feeds into a bigger conversation.
Precisely. A growing conversation about the need for maybe a more balanced workforce, one that reflects the local population mix a bit more. But understanding how tightly woven immigration policy, labor dynamics, and actual farm production are, it's essential if we want to talk seriously about workforce sustainability in agriculture today.
And this is exactly where that video seemed to hit a nerve. It tapped right into this big misconception.
Yeah.
The idea that Black individuals are just sort of available and willing to step in easily and fill those farm labor shortages.
Right. Which is a massive oversimplification.
Huge. It just overlooks so many complexities, doesn't it? Both in the labor market and, historically.
It absolutely does. You can't talk about agricultural labor in the U.S. without talking about history. It's been profoundly shaped by, systemic inequalities, socioeconomic barriers, and these have disproportionately affected Black communities for generations.
So we're talking slavery, obviously, but also what came after.
Exactly. It's crucial to remember this isn't just ancient history. Even after slavery, things like sharecropping, discriminatory land practices, they created systems where Black individuals were often trapped in really exploitative farm roles, or in other cases, actively pushed out of land ownership and agriculture altogether. This built up generations of disengagement from that kind of manual farm labor. We still see the echoes today.
So that history isn't just a footnote, it's actively shaping things now.
Definitely.
And beyond that historical weight, the assumption in the video also seems to ignore, aspirations and changes within Black communities today, right?
Completely.
We've seen huge strides in education, people pursuing professional careers. That's often a very different path from traditional manual agriculture.
Absolutely. There's been a significant shift towards higher education, towards careers in totally different sectors.
So what does that tell us about those farmers' assumptions we heard in the video?
Well, it tells us that assuming all Black individuals are just kind of waiting in the wings for manual labor jobs, it perpetuates a really reductive and, frankly, harmful stereotype. To really grasp why there are labor shortages, You need a much deeper understanding. You need to understand the current labor market needs, yes, but also the lasting impact of historical injustices.
It's not just about finding hands.
Not at all. It's about understanding complex societal shifts, individual choices, and that whole historical backdrop.
Okay, let's shift focus slightly to the farmers themselves in the video. What kind of reactions or frustrations were they actually voicing about this perceived reluctance of Black individuals to do farm work?
It was quite a mix, actually. The language used was, well, telling. Some farmers definitely expressed irritation, maybe confusion, like why aren't they stepping up?
Yeah, that came through.
Others maybe had a slightly more conciliatory tone, acknowledging potential barriers, perhaps. But the overall feeling you could sense from many was one of disappointment. Their expectation of this readily available local labor pool just wasn't panning out.
And that raises a big question, doesn't it?
It does. What does that disconnect the gap between the farmer's perception and the reality of labor availability? What does that tell us about the deeper underlying systemic issues at play?
Yeah, it feels like that disconnect isn't just about who shows up for work. It points to something deeper. Stereotypes, maybe, the ones that often go unsaid.
I think so.
Yeah.
This video really threw gas on the fire of those complex conversations about stereotypes.
Yeah.
The idea that certain racial or ethnic groups are somehow naturally suited for specific kinds of work.
Right, that old trope.
Exactly. And it leads to really problematic assumptions about capabilities, about work ethic, especially in a field like agricultural labor.
So the farmers stated preference in some cases for immigrant labor over local Black labor. You're saying that reflects these deeper societal biases.
Often, yes. It can reflect biases rooted in historical prejudice, even if people aren't consciously aware of it. And the dangers of acting on those assumptions are pretty significant. It can create a polarized work environment,
Yeah, tensions.
Community tensions, friction, and ultimately it can actually deter potential local workers who feel stereotyped or unwelcome, which ironically ends up hurting the industry's own sustainability.
So challenging these stereotypes isn't just about, political correctness.
Not at all.
It's actually critical for the industry's health and for building stronger communities.
Absolutely. It's about genuinely recognizing the potential contributions of all individuals, regardless of race, that benefits productivity and community relations. It's a win-win, really.
The video went viral. Social media played a huge role here. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. How did that amplify everything? How did it shine such a bright light on these different perspectives on race, labor, immigration?
Well, social media acted like a massive catalyst. It took this one specific instance and blew it up into a much broader conversation. Suddenly, people across the country were talking about historical inequalities in farming, about how those dynamics still play out today.
So it forced a conversation.
In many ways, yes. The way labor was discussed in the video really prompted discussions online about systemic racism. It made a lot of users confront some uncomfortable truths, about the ongoing legacy of discrimination in the workforce.
It became more than just reacting to the video itself. It became a mirror.
A mirror reflecting these deeper societal fault lines. Exactly.
And how did the immigration angle fit into that online discussion? Because that was central to the farmers' original point.
Right. It definitely fueled discussions around immigration, too. Many people online highlighted the essential contributions immigrant workers make. It sparked calls for immigration policy reform, looking at how current policies impact labor dynamics, families, everything.
So social media kind of forced the connections.
It really amplified the understanding of how interconnected these things are. Race, labor, immigration. You can't really untangle them easily. And social media provided this huge platform for diverse voices to weigh in and make those connections visible.
Okay, looking ahead then, what does the future hold for farm labor? Are we talking big transformations on the horizon?
I think we are. The landscape is definitely shifting. Several factors are converging.
Like what?
Well, first, demographics. Younger generations, generally speaking, might be less inclined towards traditional, physically demanding farm work, which likely means a continued, maybe even increased, reliance on finding a diverse labor pool wherever it comes from.
Okay, demographics, what else?
Second, attitudes towards work are evolving. Especially after the pandemic, there's been a heightened awareness of essential workers.
True.
And that's prompting more discussion, at least, around things like fair wages, better working conditions in these sectors. Whether it translates fully into action is another question, but the conversation is louder.
Right. And the third thing, you mentioned technology earlier.
Ah, yes, technology.
That's
huge. Automation, precision agriculture. These things are advancing fast. They could potentially reduce the demand for some types of manual labor, but And this is key. They also create new jobs.
Different kinds of jobs.
Exactly. Jobs requiring different skill sets, managing complex machinery, analyzing data from sensors, drone operation. It's a different kind of agricultural workforce that's emerging. So it's this really complex puzzle,
Right.
lots of moving pieces shaping the future.
So when we wrap this all up, this deep dive into just one viral video, it really has shown us a microcosm, hasn't it? A small window into these massive societal challenges around race, labor, immigration, all playing out in the fields.
Absolutely.
And it just hammers home how important equitable labor practices and really inclusive policy discussions are if we want farming to have a sustainable future.
It really is imperative for individuals, for communities, to engage thoughtfully with these topics, not just react, but think. And we'd encourage you, our listener, maybe take a moment after this. Examine your own beliefs, perhaps biases around race and immigration. How might they shape how you see issues of labor and economic opportunity, even in your own backyard?
Yeah, that's a powerful point. Maybe think about this. How can acknowledging our collective responsibility, because these issues affect all of us, how can that guide us toward more informed, maybe more compassionate approaches to immigration and labor in our society? What specific steps could you take? Maybe just in conversations you have or how you engage locally. How can you contribute, even in a small way, to a more just and inclusive future? Not just in agriculture, but everywhere. Something to definitely mull over.